ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaskar my dear friends, this is video number 12 on Brahma and his various aspects. This video number 12 starts with the prana. A variety of meaning is attached to prana, for instance, breath, life, and the sense organs. Primarily, prana means that vital force in a living being which is incessantly active in waking and sleep. In sleep, the organs of sense enters into the mind, and the fires of the prana keep watch, as it were, in the city of the body. According to its different functions, the prana is given 5 names: prana, apana, vyana, udana, and samana. Now the air which rises upward is prana. That which moves downward is apana. Vyana sweeps like a flame through all the limbs. It is what sustains life when, for instance, in drawing a stiff bow, a man neither breathes in nor breathes out. Udana conducts the soul from the body at death. By virtue of samana, food is assimilated. According to the later Vedantists, the 5 organs of action, the 5 organs of perception, the 5 pranas, the manas and the buddhi constitute the subtle body. Is dissolved at death, the subtle body departs with the organs. The relation between the subtle body and the gross body is like that between seed and plant. According to some Vedantists, another entity called the shelter of karma, karma asraya, which determines the character of the new body and life, accompanies the subtle body. This entity is formed of impressions created by the actions performed in the course of life. As it, the jiva, does and acts, so it becomes. By doing good, it becomes good, and by doing evil, it becomes evil. It becomes virtuous through good acts and vicious through evil acts. The gross physical body. Vedantists analyze the material body into 5 koshas or sheaths, namely the gross physical sheath, Annamaya kosha, the sheath of the prana, Pranamaya kosha, the sheath of the mind, Manomaya kosha, the sheath of the buddhi or intellect, Vijnanmaya kosha, and the sheath of bliss, Anandamaya kosha. They are called sheaths because they conceal Atma as a sheath conceals a sword. They are described as being one inside another, the physical sheath being the outermost and the sheath of bliss the innermost. Each succeeding seed is finer than the preceding one. As a fine substance permeates a gross one, so the finer seed permeates the grosser seed. Atma is detached from the seeds, its light and consciousness permeates them all, though in varying degrees according to their density. By cultivating detachment towards these seeds one by one and gradually penetrating deeper, a man realizes Atma as pure consciousness. The body is often described as the city of Brahma. The gates of the body are sometimes described as 11 and sometimes as 9. The 9 gates consist of the eyes, the ears, the nostrils, the mouth, and the organs of evacuation and generation. Two additional gates are the navel and the aperture at the top of the head, Brahmarandra. Without the soul, the body is absolutely valueless, a mere corpse. This this ill-smelling, unsubstantial body, a mere mass of bones, skin, sinews, marrow, flesh, seed, blood, mucus, tears, aigum, odor, urine, gall, and phlegm. What is the use of enjoying pleasures in this body, which is assailed by lust, hatred, greed, delusion, fear, anguish, jealousy, separation from what is loved, union with what is not loved, hunger, thirst, old age, death, illness, grief, and other evils. The heart has received much attention from the seers of the Upanishads. It is the resting place of the pranas, the senses, and the mind. It is the abode of Brahma, that great birthless self which is identified with the intellect and is in the midst of the organs, lies in the akasa, that is within the heart. It is the controller of all, the lord of all, the ruler of all. Its physical shape is often compared to a lotus bud. The aspirant is asked to meditate on Brahma dwelling in the heart. The states of the soul. The Upanishads discuss at great length the three states of soul: avasthaya, avastharya. They are the waking state, the dream state, and dreamless sleep. These cover the totality of the soul's experiences in the relative world. As we analyze the three states, Atman's metaphysical nature becomes more and more plainly visible, but in its true nature, as Turiya or the fourth, Atma is the detached witness of the three states. During the state of deep sleep, The soul enjoys a temporary union with Brahma and frees itself from fear and suffering, but as Turiya, it experiences consciously and always the undying bliss of Brahma. Waking Atma during the waking state, when it is known by the technical name of Vishwa or Vaishvanara, experiences the physical world in common with all men. It uses the various sense organs as its instruments, but there is no real differences between waking and dreaming. In both states, a false reality is contemplated. One's real self remains unknown. Waking like dreaming is Maya, as Gaudapada states, since it projects for us a manifold universe. The perceptions of waking, just like those of dreams, have their origin solely within man himself and have no other existence except in the mind of him who is awake, and further, as the reality of the dreamer is discarded on awakening, so too the so called reality of waking is discarded when we dream. Just as a fish swims between the two banks of a river without touching them, so Atma roams between the states of waking and dreaming. From waking it hastens to dreaming, and from this again back to the waking state. He is untouched by whatever he sees in that state, for this infinite being is unattached. Dreaming. The dream world is a private world of the dreamer. From the waking standpoint, of course, the soul, while dreaming, is known by the technical name of Tejasa. The experiences of a dream are as real as waking experiences so long as the dream lasts. On awaking from a dream, a man discovers that his body and senses were inactive and thus concludes that he was dreaming. When he dreams, he takes away a little of the impressions of this all embracing world. The waking state himself puts the body aside and creates a dream body in its place, revealing his own luster by his own light and dreams. In this state, the man himself becomes the light. There are no chariots, no animals to be yoked to them, no roads there, but he creates the chariots, animals, and roads. There are no pleasures, joys, or delights there, but he creates the pleasures, joys, and delights. There are no pools, tanks, or rivers there, but he creates the pools, tanks, and rivers, for he is the creator. In the dream world, the shining one, attaining higher and lower states, puts forth innumerable forms. He seems to be enjoying himself in the company of women, or laughing, or even seeing frightful things. The subject and the object in the dream and their relationship are all created by Atma from the mind stuff and illumined by its own effulgence. This is evidence that Atma is the inner light of man. Dreamless sleep. The dreamer passes into profound sleep, in which state Atma is known by the technical name of prajna. When a man, being thus asleep, sees no dream whatever, he becomes one with prana alone. Then speech enters therein with all names, the eye with all forms, the ear with all sounds, the mind with all thoughts. In deep sleep, the soul is united with the consciousness that is Brahma, Prajnana Atmana. There are no longer any contrasted objects. There is no consciousness in the empirical sense. There is a union with the eternal knowing subject, that is to say, with Brahma. But this union is only apparent and is unlike the true union that, that follows the knowledge of Brahma. The sleeper returns to consciousness of the waking world and becomes again his old self. In dreamless sleep, Atma remains covered by the thin layer of the veiling power of Maya. That's why, unlike Turiya, it is unconscious of the world. Like two extremes which sometimes meet, the state of deep sleep in many respects resembles perfect knowledge. It is a state where a man is fearless, beyond desires, and free from evils. Like a man in perfect communion with Brahma, he does not know anything at all of the world within or without. In this state, a father is no father, a mother no mother, the worlds are no worlds, the Vedas no Vedas. In this state, a thief is no thief, the killer of a noble Brahma is no killer. This form of his is untouched by good works and untouched by evil works, for he is beyond all the woes of his heart. Intellect. In the state of deep sleep, the soul does not really become unconscious. The consciousness belonging to Atma is not destroyed because this consciousness is immortal. It appears, therefore, that in the relative world, the nearest approach to the peace and desirelessness of Brahma is the experience of deep sleep. Turiya, Atma in its purest form, detached from the three states and subsisting alone and by itself, is called Turiya, which is the same as Nirguna Brahma. That Turiya is different from the state of deep sleep has been emphasized by Gaudapada. Prajna, the self associated with deep sleep, does not know anything of the soul self or the non-self, neither truth nor untruth. But Turiya is ever existent and ever all-seeing. Non-cognition of duality is common to both Prajna and Turiya, but Prajna is associated with sleep, in which relative experiences remain in seed form. There is no sleep in Turiya. To dream is to cognize reality in a wrong manner. Even an awakened man under the spell of ignorance acts as if he were dreaming. Deep sleep is the state in which one does not know at all what reality is. When the erroneous knowledge associated with dreaming and deep sleep disappears, one realizes Turiya. When the jiva, asleep under the influence of the beginningless Maya, is awakened, it then realizes within itself. non-duality, eternal and dreamless. Turiya is free from the notion of the empirical subject and object. It pervades all the phenomena of the relative universe as the desert pervades a mirage. It is the unrelated foundation of the three states and is realized by the illumined soul always and in everything. Once ignorance is dispelled by the Vedantic discipline, what becomes of a man after death? The question regarding a man's hereafter was perhaps raised even at the dawn of human thinking. Vedic philosophy has dealt with the subject, and the conclusion arrived at is very significant. The doctrine of karma and the rebirth of the soul has exercised a profound practical influence upon millions of Hindus from the most ancient times. Even now, its influence on their daily lives is great. All the good and evil that befall a man during one lifetime cannot be explained if we confine our attention to this life alone. What does he know of life who only one life knows? In the narrow span of a single life, we cannot possibly reap the fruit of all that we do. It is reasonable to admit the existence of a transmigrating soul in order to substantiate the general belief in moral requital. A moral a mortal ripens like corn, and like corn he springs up again, but the seed is left. We are all born with a blueprint of our life, as it were, mainly prepared by our actions in the previous life. Our present acts and thoughts are the result of our past and create our future. Man is the architect of his own fate and the builder of his own future destiny. This conviction makes the believer in the doctrine of rebirth responsible for his present suffering and also gives him an incentive for habitual right conduct to build up a happy future. As he accepts with serenity his present good or ill fortune, he can also look forward to the future with joy and grace. If present suffering is the result of a past wicked action, then in order to avoid suffering in a future existence, a thoughtful man should desire to sin no more. It is claimed by yogis that through proper spiritual discipline one can learn about one's past lives. Buddhist thinkers also share this view, but what happens after death is, to the rational mind, a mere matter of conjecture. The experiences of the hereafter cannot be demonstrated in public. Time, space, and other conditions would certainly be different on the two sides of the grave. Therefore, a living man would not understand the accounts of the dead even if they were to return to earth to tell him of their experiences. For this reason, a scientific mind can only accept a plausible theory regarding after death experiences. The theory of total annihilation is not satisfactory. It gives only a partial picture of existence. This theory is not only inconsistent with the self love we all possess, but also with the intuitive and direct experience of the seers regarding the indestructibility of the soul and its freedom from birth and dissolution. The rishis of the Upanishads were not impressed by the theory of eternal retribution in heaven or hell. That theory reveals a total disproportion between cause and effect. Life on earth is short, exposed to error, and bristling with temptations. Many of our wrong actions are the result of faulty upbringing and environment. To inflict upon the soul eternal punishment for the errors of a few years or even of a whole lifetime is to throw to the winds all senses of proportion. It is also inconsistent with God's love for His created beings. The Hindus have therefore developed the doctrine of rebirth. According to this view, it is the desire for material objects that is responsible for a person's embodiment. Desires of desires are of many kinds. Some can be fulfilled in a human body, some, some in a some human body, and others in a suprahuman body. When a man has fulfilled every desire through repeated births, without driving abiding satisfaction, and finds the relative world to be bound by the law of cause and effect, he longs for communion with Brahma, which alone is untouched by the causal law. In most cases, barring those souls who attain liberation from Brahmaloka, a human body is the best instrument for the attainment of knowledge and freedom, for in a God's body or in a subhuman body, one experiences only the fruits of one's past action. Neither a god nor an animal reaps the fruits of action. Therefore, they cannot be liberated unless they are born again in a human body. According to the theory of rebirth, a soul is born again and again, high or low, depending on the merit or demerit of his actions, so that in every birth he may acquire a little more understanding and detachment, and in the end attain perfect knowledge and freedom. This theory is in conformity with the law of cause and effect, which is the very basis of the physical universe. It is also in agreement with the spiritual experiences of the mystics regarding man's ultimate end, which is the attainment of the knowledge of the soul's immortality. Rebirth is the inevitable corollary of the soul's indestructibility and explains the raison d'etre of its embodiment in the relative universe. It must not be forgotten, however, that the doctrine of rebirth belongs to the Apra Vidya, the lower knowledge, and operates in the universe of Maya. The Paravidya or higher knowledge removes the illusion of the manifold world and with it of the individual soul and its birth, death, and hereafter. There are many strands of thoughts in the Vedas and the Upanishads concerning the soul's hereafter. Vamadeva, an illumined seer of the Rig Veda, said, I was Manu and the sun. The gods who enjoy a relative immortality are those fortunate souls who, as a result of their meritorious actions on earth, are elevated to exalted positions after death. Men seeking heavenly felicity often worship the gods. The kingdom of in inexhaustible light, whence is derived the radiance of the sun. To this kingdom transport me, eternal undying. Where is longing and the consummation of longing? Where the other side of the sun is seen, where is refreshment and satiety, there suffer me to dwell immortal. Where bliss resides and felicity, where joy beyond joy dwells, where the craving of desire is stilled, there suffer me to dwell immortal. O fire, lead us by the good path for the enjoyment of the fruit of our action. You know, O God, all our deeds. The ignorant are sent to a region of the blind darkness, but not to hell, since each soul is portion of the divine. None can ever be utterly destroyed or deprived altogether of his spiritual heritage. There are passages in the Vedas indicating retribution, which consist in having dealt out to us in the next life the very same good and evil which we have dealt out to others in this. Each man is born into a world that has been fashioned by himself. Discerning souls who have realized the transitory nature of life on earth or in the heavenly worlds want to avoid a renewed death, Purnamritu, and therefore aspire to Brahmaloka, the higher heaven from which one does not return to earth. The teachings of the Katha Upanishad begin with a direct question regarding the soul's hereafter. There is this doubt about a man when he is dead. Some say that he exists, others that he does not. This I should like to know, taught by you. The teacher, the god of death, first gives in reply a striking discourse on the soul's indestructibility. Then he states the doctrine of rebirth. Some jivas enter the womb to be embodied as organic beings, and some go into non-organic matter according to their work and according to their knowledge. The Bhagavad Gita describes death as one of a series of changes. Even as the embodied self passes in this body through the stages of childhood, youth, and old age, so does it pass into another body. Calm souls are not bewildered by this. Rebirth is directly referred to in the following verse. Even as a person casts off worn out clothes and puts on others that are new, so the embodied self casts off worn out bodies and enters into others that are new. The doctrine of rebirth was considered by Yajnavalkya to be a profound mystery. No fruitful purpose would be served by discussing it in a public assembly of Pandits. Yajnavalkya so Arthabhaga spoke. When the vocal organ of a man who dies is merged in fire, the nose in the air, the eye in the sun, the mind in the moon, the ear in the quarter, the body in the earth, and Akasha of the heart in the external Akasha, the hair on the body in the herbs, that on the head in the trees, and the blood and semen in water. Where then is the man? Yajnavalkya answered, give me your hand, dear Arthbhaga. We shall decide this matter between ourselves. We cannot do it in a crowd. They went out and talked it over. What they mentioned there was work, and work they praised there was also work. Therefore, one becomes good through good work and evil through evil work. For a more vivid description of rebirth, when the soul departs, the prana follows. When the prana departs, all the organs follow. Then the soul has particular consciousness and goes to the body which is related to that consciousness. It is followed by knowledge, works, and past experience. Just as a leech spotted on a straw goes to the end of it, takes hold of another spot and contracts itself, so does the self throw this body aside, makes it senseless, take hold of another sport and contract itself. Just as a goldsmith takes a little quantity of gold and fashions another a newer and better form, so does the soul throw this body away or make it senseless and make another a newer and better form suited to the mains or the celestial minstrels or the gods or Virat or Hiranyagarbha or other beings. As it does and acts, so it becomes. By doing good, it becomes good, and by doing evil, it becomes evil. It becomes virtuous through good acts and vicious through evil acts. Others, however, say the self is identified with desire alone. What it desires, it resolves. What is it? It resolves. It works out. What it works out, it attains. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad describes the doctrine of the five fires in connection with rebirth. This doctrine, which was a secret with the Kshatriyas, was taught by Pravahana, the king of the Panchalas, to the Brahmin Aruni, as we have seen. According to this teaching, as the body is cremated, the soul ascends heavenward through the flame and smoke and goes to the plane of the moon, whence it falls to earth in the form of rain. With the rain, it is absorbed by plants that bear cereal. With the food, it is eaten by man and is transformed into semen. And entering a woman's womb is born as a human being. Thus, people are born again and again on earth and lead their merry-go-round existence. But those wretched souls who do not follow either of the two ways, the way of the gods, Devyana, or the way of the fathers, Pitriyana, become insects, moths, or biting creatures like gnats and mosquitoes. So I end this video here. Please like, comment and share the video. Subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot. Namaskar, my dear friend. Next video in this series will start with liberation moksha. Thank you. Namaste.